welcome back to the Rewind That Tape podcast. I'm your host Jay Probs,
And I'm Dr. Cash.
and today um, on our recap podcast, there's only one thing we can really talk about. NBA Finals Game One in the books. Denver Nuggets with an 11-point win, 104-93, and it was, in my opinion, it was much more than an 11-point lead. I mean, Denver was dominant the entire game. What are your thoughts, Dr. Cash?
Yeah, I think just Denver took advantage of the Heat struggles offensively, and I think they were up double digits since the second quarter. Heat
Mm-hmm.
made a push at the end, but Denver did what they do best, which is attack the paint and try to get the easy bucket, and they did a great job of doing that. They did a
Yeah, for
great job
sure.
of that tonight.
I mean, that's just kind of their game. I mean, they shot 29% from three, and Miami shot 33. So it's not like Miami had this horrible shooting night. I mean, granted, they did shoot 12 more threes, but they also shot it at a higher percentage. I think Miami just they had so many open looks. I mean, that was the entire game. They just kept missing open looks. And I don't think anyone besides Adebayo was really being aggressive in the paint. I mean, Jimmy, you saw him pass up multiple looks.
Yeah,
And I mean, when Strus, when Vincent, when Duncan Robinson, when their shots aren't going, they're liabilities at best.
yeah. I feel like to your point with attacking the paint. Yeah, I think it was Adebayo and maybe Haywood Highsmith who came off the bench. He had a pretty
Yeah, he
nice
played
game.
good. He played good.
He made some really good cuts to the rim, and Adebayo and other teammates were able to find him. But yeah, I think Miami just they didn't play to their strengths today, and it hurt them because they found good looks, they found good opportunities, but they
Hmm.
weren't falling, and they just didn't make adjustments. But knowing this team, like adjustments, they're going to be made.
Exactly. Adjustments are for sure coming. But I mean, just shifting over to Denver a little bit. I mean, this looking at their box score, it's so balanced. I mean,
Hmm.
they have five players in double digits. And I mean, Michael Porter Jr. had 14, Nikola Jokic had 27, Murray had 26, Aaron Gordon had 16. I mean, he had a double digits within the first quarter. He set the tone, and I mean, I think from that point on, it just they did not look back.
Yeah, Gordon's been struggling this entire playoffs, just scoring, getting good looks because his
Hmm.
matchups have been tough. I mean, you look
Yeah.
at it, round one, Cat's guarding him, bigger body. Round two,
Hmm.
it switches off KD, Okogie, and then the third round,
LeBron.
obviously, yeah, you got LeBron. So I think this fourth round, when you look at the Heat starting lineup, like your
I mean,
power
he just took
forwards,
advantage.
yeah, it's either Caleb Martin or Jimmy Butler, which Gordon's like way
And
bigger
I
than
mean,
them.
the thing is though that they weren't getting back in transition, and they weren't matching up. So majority of his looks were against Gabe Vincent, against those smaller guys, and he was just feasting in the paint. I mean, before he was making good cuts. This time they're just feeding it in the post, and he was backing down, and there was some grown man strength right there.
Yeah, I feel like Gordon just did a good job of getting open, making good cuts. And yeah, like you said, there were quite a few times where he was open on the fast break. Heat didn't switch
Hmm.
off, and it's an easy bucket for him. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, but going back to your point about like being balanced, like Michael Porter Jr. today had 14 points and 13 rebounds, and
Yeah.
he shot 2 of 11 from three. Like it was an interesting game from him, but when you have that starting five around him that's perfectly balanced, that plays well with him, like you can't really see that bad game in him. Like you can like from a viewer's perspective, you're able to see like the impact he has outside of the 3 point
Shooting
shooting.
threes.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and he was huge tonight, grabbing boards
Hmm.
both on offense and defense.
Yeah, and I think that's something for me at least. Who I haven't watched a bunch of Nuggets games, but his defense was surprising to me. I mean, there were one play in particular. I mean, he Caleb Martin gets past him. He's faster guard, and Porter Jr. is just trailing him, and Martin just throws up the layup. and Porter Jr. smacks it out of the air. And I mean, that kind of encapsulated how well he uses his length, especially on the defensive end. He's really giving a lot of effort. I mean, entire game. Um, and I think that's something that Denver has really, I mean, along with getting Murray back and having a two-time MVP, I mean, their defense is solid. I mean, you have good defenders in Gordon, Porter Jr., KCP on the wing, and then Jokic back there who can occasionally block a few shots. I mean, there's a reason Miami did not score 100 points. I mean, as bad as their shooting night was, there's a reason. I mean, you can't just give it all up to, oh, Miami played shot bad. I mean, Denver had a real part to play in that.
Yeah, and I think Coach Malone in the conference finals, he made a great point that this year MPJ worked on using his frame to his advantage defensively,
Yeah,
and it's starting to pay off. He's becoming a really good defender. Obviously, is on the defensive boards more. He's way more active, and he's kind of becoming an X factor. And we're able to see like that 2-dimensional player he was in high school and at Missouri, which is exactly what the Nuggets need and what they're paying him for.
exactly. And I mean, just last point on this game, we have to mention him, right? I mean, Jokic triple double, 14 assists, 10
It's
rebounds,
it's like
27 points.
automatic at this point.
Yeah, it's and it just like you don't see it. This guy got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. I mean, that's not supposed to happen. This isn't supposed to be the guy that's supposed
Hmm.
to be dominating our league, but he is playing so good right now. And it's just he just tears your defense apart. There's nothing that he can't do, and it's just incredible watching him on the floor.
Yeah, I feel like on top of that, the Nuggets were just they're like I said, they're just able to play around him so well. Like people think he
Hmm.
doesn't pass the ball, but that's just the player he is, and he still finds a way to be effective without passing. So I feel like as long as they continue to do that and use MPJ to as an advantage, he's going to eventually make his shot and be an even better player, be even more of a factor. But like aside from that, another thing I wanted to talk about going back to the Heat is the DNP no minutes given for Kevin Love. I found that pretty interesting that even with Struess and Caleb Martin were struggling. They weren't they weren't producing anything offensively. I'm still
Hmm.
surprised Kevin Love did not get any minutes.
I mean, but at that point, what can he? I mean, sure, he can maybe offer you a bigger body inside, but he just I feel like he's so much slower than he used to be that he would be a defensive liability. And I mean, sure, it might change things up, but game one of the finals, you can't change up, I feel like, the philosophy that got you there. So I
But he
think
played. That's the thing. He played in the conference finals.
yeah, but this is an entirely different monster, I feel like. Denver, I feel like they just attack, and having Struess out there or Caleb Martin, I feel like just well inherently just them being faster, better defenders, and even as bad of a shooting night as they were having, I would say they're better shooters than Kevin Love. Um, so I don't know. I feel like them, suppose just keeping them and hoping that they catch fire, because with them, if they catch fire, it's game over.
Yeah,
They're lights out. But yeah, it just didn't happen.
yeah. I think he should see some minutes though in game two and just see how it goes because they weren't obviously able to guard Aaron Gordon because of size, and I think Kevin Love's a bigger body. He may be slower, but Aaron Gordon, like so far this playoffs, hasn't really shown like a lot of pace when he gets the ball offensively. It's more of a catch and shoot, or he'll drive,
Hmm.
but Kevin Love can withstand those drives, I believe.
Yeah, I mean it's the adjustments from Spo. Am I right?
Yeah,
But moving on, just another piece of news in the NBA. Celtics planning to bring back head coach Joe Mazulla. This after I think three assistants left to join Ime Udoka on the Rockets. But what does this kind of tell you about the confidence I guess the Celtics have in him after going down 0-3, coming back, and then losing game seven.
Yeah, I think this was a no brainer. It's his first year as a coach, and he gets them one win away to the finals. And I know that fan base they've got high expectations for the team,
Yeah,
but
always.
being a first year head coach and being that close to a finals appearance is still pretty impressive to me. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it's much deserved for him to come back. And now I think he gets to choose his own staff, gets his own assistant
Hmm.
coaches, guys he's comfortable working with, which only makes his team better. But I think he's also going to have more control on what goes on this upcoming free agency with the looks
Yeah.
of Jalen Brown being eligible for that supermax. I think if Mazulla is not the biggest fan of Jalen Brown and Tatum on the court, um, we
Blow
could
it
see
up,
Brown
maybe.
go. Yeah, I think we
I
could
mean,
see a trade in the works.
I think it's possible. Especially after that game seven performance.
Yeah,
I mean, he just, I feel like in the playoffs hasn't been that consistent performer you want next to
hmm
JT. Um, and going back to the actual the hiring or rehiring of Missoula, I think it's just consistency for the team, which is kind of what they need. Especially after the whole Udoka situation, you just want to keep a coach who is finding he's figuring out how to keep this team on the right path, and I think that's pretty important. Yeah, and I think it's a smart decision by the Celtics. I mean, there isn't really any other decision to make, but yeah, it's a smart decision.
Yeah, there's no better coach on the market right now. Mazzulla's still young, figuring out his path as a coach in the league, and I think this decision is going to pay off for the Celtics.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Moving now to some football soccer action. The big news. This today, Kareem Benzema, the Ballon d'Or winner, and Champions League winner striker for Real Madrid, um, reportedly leaving to join the Saudi Arabian League, the same one Cristiano Ronaldo is part of. What are your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, I think it's at this point in his career, like there's not much more to win. You've proved yourself in Europe last year that he could win without Ronaldo, win without all those guys, and be the main threat for that Real Madrid team. And I think it's a great move for him because also you're getting paid like 400 million over 2 years, something like
Yeah,
that. Which I feel it's a great move. But I don't even know if it's official right now because let's see, if we look at what he said in this press conference today, he posted some things on social media that kind of made it seem that it was his time was up at Real Madrid. But then he has this conference with I'm guessing officials of Madrid and other important guys, and he's stating like I I don't like he's saying why speaking of the future if I'm in Madrid, and then he's like quoting saying that the internet's basically wrong, um, and they're not representing the reality of this situation. So I think it was pretty confusing for me after seeing that
yeah,
because all the reports this morning said it's confirmed he's gone. But this could just be his way of saying like he's just going to wait for their final game to play out and finally announce that decision.
yeah. I think that's probably more likely what it is because he's a veteran, he's a professional. He's not gonna he doesn't want to have that hanging over him in his last game. But yeah, I think it's a pretty big move. You see, he's going to Al Ittihad, the rival team to Al Nazir, which Ronaldo's on. They actually won the league this year. Um, and yeah, I think this is really big for them because I just go back to the quote I heard from Ronaldo earlier this year. He talked about Saudi Arabia potentially becoming a top five league in a few years. And I mean, if you can attract a Ballon d'Or winner from last year to your league, that's pretty big for the growth of the league and just I mean, personally, I never heard of the Saudi league before, and now two of the best players in the world are playing there, and I mean, sure, you might not be getting Messi, you might not be getting Modric, but you're getting these guys, and it's establishing a real base for the league, which is, I mean, we might see this team on up and up in a few years.
Yeah, I think Ronaldo basically stated it perfectly that with the right infrastructure, this league can be one of the top leagues in the world. And I mean, although they're not in the Champions League, Europa League, anything like that, the money's going to get to some of these players that still have a lot to give.
I mean, it
And
has. We see it right
yeah,
there.
we've seen it right here with Benzema, and I feel like it's going to come along again with other players, potentially Messi in a few years. But
Hmm.
I feel like when we look at it, I think yeah, the Saudi league can become successful. However, I just don't know if I have much faith in it. Just
I mean,
because like they're not in those pristine competitions. Um,
mhm, yeah, and that's what the young players want to, and that's the end of the day. If you can get those young players, if you can get the Mbappe's, the Hollands, the Rashfords, if you can get those guys into your league, then you could really say you're one of the top five club leagues, and that you have to be in the UEFA competitions. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, that's going to be an obstacle for them to overcome. But I mean, we'll see what happens with that. Um, and that wraps it up for us. Just so you guys remember, NBA Finals Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll see what adjustments Coach Spo makes. But thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to go check out all our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you're on, we're on there as well. Check out our website at rewindthattape.com, and stay tuned. We're posting these episodes daily. If you need a little refresh in the morning for some sports action, we got you. We're here. Small 15-minute episodes. Stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching. Peace.